So what's the big trending thing that's happening right now? Where are baby boomers going? And what could be one of the best investments that you're not capitalizing on right now? Let's talk about it today with Eddie Wilson. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you that works so hard for your money, and you're now ready for your money to start working harder for you today. Why? Because you're sick and tired of that rat race. You want to work because you want to, not because you have to. You want to be work optional. You want to be able to live in a way that you have enough passive income to create the life of your dreams. But it's not just about getting rich. It's about living a rich life, because as you're blessed financially, you now have a greater capacity to bless the lives of those around you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Appreciate you guys. You've been binging on these episodes. You've been sharing. Guys, we're already about 900 episodes total already. So excited that next year we get to celebrate that 1000th episode. That's huge. So thank you for those of you. I mean, no, several of you have been with us for the last 11 years. Appreciate you guys have been hanging in there and learning, and more importantly, applying what you learn, allowing me to create a ripple effect in your lives as well. As a reminder, guys, if you haven't checked us out, go follow us on social media. Everything's at Money Ripples, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. Be sure to follow us today. All right, guys, so I've got Eddie Wilson here with us. We're bringing him back again because, one, it was the #1 episode for 2023, but also you guys keep wanting to watch this episode. You keep wanting to watch this stuff, and for good reasons, because Eddie is the king of exits, guys. He's bought over 125 companies, sold over 85 of them. Massive investor in private equity and a lot of companies. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today, because guess what? Although we talk a lot about real estate investing and passive income, which is awesome, some of the things happening right now, there is a shift in the marketplace. There's a lot happening. And I want to talk with Eddie about that very thing, about what's going on right now. Why is private equity becoming a bigger deal? That's what we're going to talk about today. So Eddie, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be on the show.
So, man, so those that didn't go as far back, because now you're probably like 150 episodes back now. Um, Tell us just a little bit about your backstory, because I know you have a fascinating. It's amazing you're barely 40. That's all I have to say. It seems like you've lived 2 lifetimes in that period.
Yeah. For me, I'm a serial entrepreneur, third generation real estate investor, and third generation infinite banker too, by the way, because I know a lot of your audience does that. But for me, I really have tried to maximize my output on the active businesses. And so I've really mastered buying and selling companies. That money typically translates into real estate investment, and then typically into legacy type vehicles like infinite banking and others. So for me, the last 20 years of my life has looked a lot like buying a bunch of companies, getting heavily involved in the operations of those companies, creating enterprise value, exiting at an increased multiple, and then dumping it into, typically passive real estate or into vehicles that then allow me to buy passive real estate. And that's where I'm at today. And I'm still in this rinse and repeat mode. I just turned 45, so I'm halfway through the 40s now, Chris. So I'm excited about that. But for me, I'm still in a period of building. I'm still building businesses. I think we're back up to 23 companies operational now. We've been building, we've got the world's largest business tour going on right now, the Aspire Tour. We've officially passed, I think, our only big competitor. We've got the world's largest mastermind now. It's just like, for me, like, I'm still in this building phase. And that's because I really do like maximizing my active income. And that's where, the private equity space does that for me, because the $3 of my life, passive, or, it's like active to passive, then to legacy. I'm trying to increase the active, so I can just keep dumping more into the passive, because then, it gets me to the place where I get to just give back at an exponential level when I get to the legacy side.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is probably the question a lot of people would ask is, what's your secret? And I know that's a loaded answer, and, with an unloaded question, right? But there are so many people in business that struggle day to day, even to get one business off the ground, and you've done it dozens of times. What do you feel is really that secret for making that work?
The secret is 2 things. Number one, it's good people and good systems. I've got the Empire operating system. I think we've got over 3,500 companies globally operating on Empire. For me, every business I have goes into this rinse and repeat operating system. It gives me a way to measure on a weekly basis. I really am more of a data analyst at the top. And then you got to hire good people to actually manage your system, so it's not enough just to have a system. You also have to have the good people to actually manage the system. So
Right.
that's my secret sauce. And over the last probably 4 to 5 years, I've kept a really great bench of people. So
Mm.
in my Empire operating system, I'm essentially just continuing to train people that go out and consult, but I pull them off the bench to help them operate my own companies. And so I use fractional services like my fractional COO services or fractional CFO services or fractional CRO services, chief revenue officers. And that kind of Empire world allows me to pull people off the bench as needed in these companies that I purchase,
Yeah.
and really get them up and running and operational a lot faster than most people can.
I love it, man. Well, and that it sounds so simple, right? But I know the execution of that is not easy.
No, it's not. It's definitely not easy, but I will tell you that to the degree that you can systemize your business,
Mhm.
um, and find it working for you once, you can do it again.
Yeah.
Most people have just never figured out the first time. They don't want to spend the time building the foundation. It's like if you spend the time building the foundation, you can go replicate it. And that's what I've done is the foundation strong, so then I can just replicate it over and over again.
Now, this kind of leads into this next question, which it sounds almost like you're like a shark from Shark Tank, right? You're doing it. But what would you say is the difference between what they do from the guys like Shark Tank that are like literally trying to buy interest or loan money to these businesses to get off the ground versus what you do in your businesses?
Yeah, mine are very, very different. And I think that if I get any negative press, it's always that I'm this shark that comes in and buys businesses and
Uh-huh.
lays people off. And it's actually the exact opposite. What I do is I actually look for either distressed capital businesses or distressed people businesses. Let me tell you the
Mm.
number one source of distressed people businesses right now, and that is you've got 15 million baby boomers walking away from their place of business that they currently own, that they've spent a lifetime creating customers, a lifetime creating products and services and a good name. And they're walking away, and they're going to walk away in the next 7 years. 15
Yeah.
million people walking away from their place of business. And I really think the true wealth transfer happening in the United States is not a baby boomer giving their cash to their grandkids or passing a
Mhm.
house on to their grandkids. I think what it is it's this dentist that sat in the dental chair for 45 years. And at some point in the next 7 years, he's going to walk out or she's going to walk out, flip the sign to closed,
Mhm.
and never walk back in. And every one of those patients that they've been seeing is going to dissipate into the ether, and other companies are going to pick them up. That's true value. Like that's real money. That's real capital right there. That's, 4, 6, 800 patients on an average dental practice that's going to spend on average $1,500 to $2,000 a year. And it's just going to evaporate.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a little bit different. I'm looking for those small cap businesses, not the big giant ones like the Shark Tank guys. I'm not looking for $100 million business.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to buy 5% of $100 million business. I'm trying to buy 95% of $1 million business. Like I
Yeah.
like that $1 to $3 million range, because then I can infuse them with new life, new, kind of people that can
Mhm.
operate the business, and then typically the capital they need to grow. And then the big opportunity there is systems, processes, and technology. Like a lot of
Mhm.
these baby boomers businesses are missing the basic technology like CRM system and point of sale and stuff like that. You can easily put into that business and find, efficiency and find another 10% of profit where they struggle to find it. And it's for the taking. And most of them don't have a succession plan. So when you walk in and you say, "Hey, I want to buy your business," and they're like, "I don't even know what my business is worth." And it's like, well, let's talk about true valuation. But instead of you getting a massive tax hit by me giving you cash and
Mhm.
you take a 30 to 40% haircut by paying it to Uncle Sam, let's owner finance this business. I'll pay you out over time. So you got your retirement money, you got your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever you got over there that's paying you in your retirement. Let me supplement that by paying you off this business you're going to walk away with anyways. And
Mhm.
for me, that's the businesses I like buying. I've done this 125 times, in the past 10 years. And by our best estimation, I've actually added 30,000 new jobs to the US economy by buying these companies, giving them new life. So I'm not the Wall Street shark. I'm not coming in to take it all away, fire everybody, and
Hmm.
sell it off to somebody else. Like I actually want to build and operate these businesses because in that there's massive cash that now I can pour into my passive bucket over here. This is active money. This is money that I'm operating and it's paying me dividends. And I can now dump that into programs like we talk about, like infinite banking or then infinite banking and then real estate. And there's just so
Yeah,
many opportunities.
for sure. But Eddie, I mean, I've known you for a few years now or so, and you don't need this money, right? So why do you really like doing this? Like, what's the real driver for you?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, part of it is we're all deal junkies to a degree, like
Mhm.
all of us that have gotten to a self-directed mindset realize like the onus is on me. I need to take charge of my money. I'm not going to let the government or pension programs or I'm not going to leave my future and my family's future up to institutions. I'm going to take control of it. Once you
Yeah,
move into that space, you become a little bit of a deal junkie. You're looking for the next big opportunity. You want to because it means legacy and it means opportunity for future. So for me, I've gotten into a place where I really turned my entire focus into more philanthropic good. My passion is my nonprofit, my foundation called Impact Others. And I have a passion to feed and educate children around the world. We've built 26 orphanages. We've got, dozens and dozens of feeding centers. And my big goal, that kind of big, hairy, audacious goal for me is I want to feed 100,000 kids a day. I want to feed and educate 100,000 children that couldn't be fed, and nobody would care for them if we didn't show up. And so for me, that means in order to do that, it's roughly about $12 million a year that my legacy bucket has to just kick off every single year. Well, to get to $12 million of money just coming in tax free, you got to hit the 100, 200, $300 million worth of passive income invested. And
Mhm.
so that's what I'm just on this massive, push to get to that. And, if I hit 100,000, maybe we'll go for 200,000. I don't know, but it's like I just want to push myself. I'm in my 40s. There's no reason to slow down. I love work. I love deals. I love operating businesses. But most of all, I like making impact around the world. And the more of this I do over here, the more I get to do that, for something that actually brings me massive fulfillment.
I think that's where you and I connect a lot because we could both shut down our businesses, be just fine, and live a very quiet, happy life. But one, I get depressed if I stop working, and then two, like I feel like I have almost this God-given responsibility, that if I don't do it, you know, what's the whole use of life? Like if you have the ability, why not do it? Why not use these resources to bless others' lives, right?
And there's so much fulfillment in it. It's like
Yeah.
we've all done enough deals, and anybody that gets to a place of enough wealth that one thing that I realized is like there really was a threshold. Once I got to like $1 million of net worth, it was like my lifestyle changed a little bit. Once I got to three, once I got to five, once I got to 10, once I got to $10 million worth of net worth, my lifestyle didn't change past that point.
Yeah.
Like I still buy cars for tax write-offs every year, right? Like I still do the same thing. I lit like this is my beach house and it's a little 2,500 square foot beach house. It's nothing crazy, but the beach is right there.
Mhm.
It's like I'm not going to go buy a bunch of more houses unless they're investments. I'm not going to take that many more vacations. It's like you get to this place and then you max out and then it's like, okay, now what? Like I
Yeah.
don't get fulfillment out of another vacation or buying another house. Fulfillment really comes at helping others get to a place where they couldn't get if you weren't in their life. And so for me, that's 100% of why I do what I do. It's like I'm not on the quest to buy more mansions, buy more cars. I love cars, but
Mhm.
there's only so many you can drive. But I
Yeah.
really do get a lot of passion and a lot of excitement out of going to these places around the world. We're in 103 countries. And every time we add a new country or build a new orphanage, or I get to feed some kids that have never been fed by somebody, that cared for them before, like that's real fulfillment.
Yeah. And I'll come back to the private equity thing in a bit here too. But I do want to bring that up because I know I've donated to Impact Others, an amazing organization. But I'll tell you, the thing that got me was a story when you first came to like when you realized that kids weren't getting fed. I mean, would you mind sharing that with us just for a little bit? Because that really impacted me, that story you had when you first kind of came to that realization.
I went through a period of my life of true depression and it didn't come because I wasn't achieving. It came because I felt like I had achieved everything that I wanted in life and I was in my
Mm.
20s, like and I just couldn't find fulfillment. I remember laying in bed, depressed, struggling to like wonder what is life even about? Like once you get to a place
Mhm.
where you don't even know where to spend your money at, it's like, okay, now what, you know? So I go on a vacation, and one of my buddies from college said, "Hey, I built an orphanage. You should come check it out." And so I went over there, and he had a feeding center. And this is in Honduras. And I was actually going diving in Roatan, and this was in the San Pedro Sula area. And we go up there, and I go see this thing, and it was fun, you know. And I thought, oh, this is cool, seeing what he does. And there's probably 80 to 100 kids there, and the first 40 or 50 were kind of standing in line, and they were making like little plates of chicken and rice and stuff like that. And then they
Mhm.
were teaching, and I'm playing soccer. It's third world country. There's dogs running around. You're playing soccer with the kids. It's just, it's if you've ever been there, you kind of picture in your head. And I just thought, oh, they're going to feed them in two waves. Now, this entire village, these children, these are indigenous people, so their hair is black. Like it's black, it's thick, it's coarse. All these children's hair is a tint of red, and it's because of being malnourished. They didn't have enough, resources and minerals and food to like really. So now you have a bunch of children that are like severely malnourished. Their teeth are in bad shape. They've got red hair. It's kind of a bizarre thing.
Mhm.
And so watch them feed the kids, and
If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now.
I then see the kids behind and the kids in front, and the kids in front kind of tip over their plate and knock the little grains of rice off the plate, whatever was left, and they hit the floor. And when that happened, the kids behind them began to dive on the floor and try to get those little grains of rice in their mouth. And then the dogs that were there, if you've ever been in a third world country, there's always dogs everywhere.
Mhm.
They're fighting and nipping at the children that are on the floor, trying to get this rice in their mouth. And they're fishing through the rocks and gravel and dirt. And I was just so, like taken back by this. I said to the guy that I was with, I was like, "Hey, like, what's going on?" He goes, "Well, I don't have enough food to feed them all. You have to." He's like, "If I split it up, then I can't create true nourishment, and I can't create what they need for all of them. So I have to choose some." I was like,
Wow.
"Whoa, wait a minute! Like that, how can you do that? Like,
Like
I think
choose between
sometimes,
life and death.
yeah, you're choosing it for them. And how do you
Yeah.
choose? Like every one of these kids are worthy of being fed." And so I said, "Oh, tell them, like, tell them, we'll feed them. I'll go get food. Like, it's what is it, 50 kids? Like, it's no big deal. Like, we'll go get more rice and chicken. Like, how much can that cost?" He's like, "Okay, you want me to tell him that?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, tell him." He said, "Just, tell him." I said, "Okay." So he tells them, they kind of all stand up. They're happy, like, all right, cool. So we're gonna get fed today. And so I said, "Well, where do we go? Like, how do we go get chicken and rice over here?"
Yeah.
So he was like, "All right, well, we got to head back into town." And so we get back in the car, his truck, and we're driving towards town. And he said, "Hey," he said, "I just want to let you know," he said, "if this is to appease your conscience," he said, "let's not go back." He said, "It's more dangerous to give them hope for a day than to just allow them to deal with reality and fight it out." He was like,
Wow.
"Every day I have to choose. Every day I choose." He said, "And the ones that are not chosen," he said, "they're resilient." He said, "They'll figure it out. They'll find a way. They'll fight. He said, "Some won't." He said, "But most of them will." He's like, "But if we go back and give that 50 food, they're going to think it's coming every day, and they'll stop fighting." And he said, "And you'll ruin these children's lives."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" He said, "That means if we go back today, you have to go back every day." He was like, "If you're going to feed them, you feed them every day." And he said, "Or I'm not going back." And I was like, wow. I mean, I was like, well, what does it cost? Well, our average meal there is like 28 cents. Like it's
Wow.
crazy how efficient it is. And I was like, I can commit to that for life. That's not a problem. Like we're afraid
Mhm.
of lifetime commitments, but that was one I was like, I can do that, not a big deal. And so we went back, we fed them, and I've been feeding those group of kids, for probably, I think I'm on 11 years now. I mean, it's a whole new group of kids now.
Yeah.
And we support, I think, 7 of those feeding centers in Honduras now.
Hmm.
And that's what, to me, that's why this model that I'm talking about is so important, because it's not just about giving your donation, it's about creating sustainability. It's
Yeah.
about what vehicle can I use that keeps giving on a consistent basis so that they never have to wonder if I'm going to show up one day. Like, I
Right.
want them to know that when I show up, they have the confidence that tomorrow I show up as well. And that's what changed my life. That day changed everything for me.
Mhm.
Now we feed around 4,300 children and educate them every single day. I'm on my quest for 100,000. That's just kind of the big goal that I'm going after.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what we do every single day, and that's what we're after. And so now we do a lot more than that. Now we do a lot of clean water projects. We dig a lot of wells. I think
Mhm.
we did 19 wells last year all over Africa and India and Pakistan. We build sustainable businesses. I think we've built close to 25 businesses now, maybe a little over, to try to help them generate their own revenue in their area. And so it's been a lot of fun, and it
Yeah.
gives me so much fulfillment that I don't know how I would ever stop doing it. It's just like I enjoy doing that more than anything in life.
Yeah, love it, man. And that's the thing. I always usually end the episode with asking, what's your ripple effect? You answer that really, really well. So I'm not even going to ask that question because it's apparent. But yeah, that's incredible. And I know Impact Others, great nonprofit. You guys should definitely check it out. Definitely recommend it. So let's kind of swing back because this does kind of come full circle because this is why you're doing business. This is why I mean, and right now, like you said, it's almost like for you, it is a feast or a banquet in this case of opportunity, especially among those baby boomers that have businesses that if they weren't around, they would probably die out anyways, right?
Right. Yeah.
So how does someone invest in these things? 'Cause I'm seeing more of these real estate guys switching because they can't find, apartment deals, multifamily deals. They're trying to do PE stuff, and I'm scared to death for anybody who's trying to invest money in these things.
Yeah.
So how do you do it differently?
You have to be careful too to just shift from a passive model like a lot of these guys. Like I haven't
Yeah.
shifted from real estate at all. I'm just doing more of both.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of businesses out there. The one place I tell a lot of people is like, just to get your feet wet in this, go to the websites. Buy Biz Sell, I think is the one main website.
Mhm.
It's a brokerage site. Talk to your local brokers, or find deals that you can get in passively. Like
Yeah.
there periodically, I'll open up one of my deals to let a few people invest in. But there's a lot of guys out there like me that are doing this on a regular basis, and they're letting people invest beside them. And so, for the purpose of cash flow, not for the purpose of building equity. Like when you're buying these businesses, I would much rather have the cash flow that allows me to dump into passive investments.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just build a net worth and try to, I do sell them at exponential rates, but I like the cash flow too. So
Yeah.
I say, kind of get your feet wet by at least understanding what's available in your market. Talk to the brokers, have conversations. And also, if you're not a great operator, be very, very careful. It's like, I can't tell you how many times somebody will say, should I get involved in multifamily? Now, I own 4,000 real estate doors. It's like, I love multifamily. But I tell people all the time, if you're not a good business operator, you should not go to try to operate a multifamily. You should
Yes.
find a passive way to get involved, syndicate it, go be on the LP side. Don't take the liability of being a GP. And if that's you, then I don't know that I would go after small businesses. You can go after things that invest in small businesses. You can invest in these roll-up funds and be an LP and somebody that's building them and putting them all together.
Yeah.
Find good operators. You have to have the good operator, or else it doesn't make sense. It's the same thing with multifamily investing. It's like if you don't
Yeah.
have a good operator, don't invest in the asset, because the asset will hurt you. Like same thing with small businesses.
Yeah. You bet on the jockey even more so than the horse, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well, and this kind of leads me to Aspire, right? Like you mentioned, this is now becoming the largest mastermind community that's out there today. And I know I mean, you tour all over the country. You'll have like literally a couple thousand people or so, sometimes standing room only in these rooms. What's the deal with that? Like, what's going on with Aspire? Why is this thing catching on so much?
This is our second year. We just finished our second year, moving into our third, and we've got the entire year booked out. And we've been told Forbes said that we're the world's largest business tour because every single month we put 3 to 5 thousand people in an auditorium or a convention center or whatever it is. And we bring out celebrities. We bring people like Shark Tank and Alex Rodriguez and Mark Cuban and random people. It doesn't matter. Like we just want people that are authentic when it comes to business. It's not a political push, it's a business push. What are you doing to be successful in business? And in that, it's like we have a lot of great speakers that come out that share great insight. And I think there's this massive movement of people that are trying to create freedom in their lives through entrepreneurship, and they're afraid to do it, and
Yeah.
so half the crowd is people that are successful and they're moving towards greater levels of success. And the reason we called it Aspire was because we want to talk to the people that are aspiring entrepreneurs, people that have dreams and visions, but they just don't know how to take the first step. And
Mhm.
so because of that, and because of the content we put on stage, is we're selling out. I mean, we've got Charlotte coming up; it's completely sold out. Fort Lauderdale's sold out. Denver is on its way to sell out. And it's just exploded. And I think it's because of the authenticity of what's being spoken from stage. And I think it's because it's showing where the American population is today. I think the big corporate jobs have really run its course. There's not a lot of people that get excited about working for a 10,000 or a 20,000 person organization anymore. The American dream isn't tied to, I'll go get a 40-year job and pay off my house. The American dream is about freedom today. It's about what can I do to control my time and control my wealth and create legacy. And, I got a 24-year-old son. All he could think about in college was creating his own business. It's like all he wanted to do was start something, because
Yeah.
in the end, he didn't want to go work for, a big giant corporation. He wanted to control his own time, and
Yeah.
so I think because of that, the American population has moved in this space. And I think we just have been speaking to it, to the masses for 2 years now. And I think that's why it's really taken off.
And a lot of times you even have opportunities with like these private equity deals and things like that, don't you?
We do. Yeah, we periodically we have a community. That's where the mastermind community comes in, is that
Mhm.
mastermind community really is the gateway into some of this, investing opportunity. And, we raised, I think we bought 9 or 10 private equity deals that was specific to just investors. I
Yeah.
buy them very differently. I don't like the Kickstarter, Indiegogo type thing, like where you're betting on, something that's going to happen in the future. I like
Mhm.
companies that are doing 3, 4, 5 million, taking investments into them. They're already cash flow positive. They're already profitable, and they typically just need some capital for growth, or product. Then we'll typically invest in them.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I mean, that community, it's a pretty active community. It's definitely got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of people that are really aspiring and wanting to learn. That's one thing I've noticed too, is that they learn so much there. I mean, we teach a lot of financial stuff, but I mean, you guys are talking about like, what are tax-free strategies you can be using, even employing that within your business. How can you almost unlock your crappy old 401ks and use it for something better, right? I mean, you guys are talking about a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, thank you.
So, well, your time has been so generous. I've already taken you beyond what I told you I would. But last question, because I told you I was going to ask this before we got on this, but you mentioned you're third generation infinite banker. I know your grandfather was president of a bank and kind of passed along this to you. How are you using infinite banking, even like right now, or how have you used it, whether it be in business, whether it's been with your real estate? What have you specifically done and how you use it, or you just use it to hold cash, like a lot of us are doing too?
Yeah, I use it as a vehicle, for various things. I love the asset protection angle of it. I like
Yeah.
there are tax advantages to using it. But for me, what it is it allows me to make money on my money more than once. And so my strategy, and I'm kind of hitting limits now, like it does have a limitation once you get to a certain capital, structure. But I like when I can put my money into a vehicle that's going to yield 4 or 5% no matter what. I can then use that vehicle to go buy something else and then keep replacing the money and putting the money in and out of it. And I use it a lot in an arbitrage method, with lending, where I don't do a lot of investing in long-term hard assets with my infinite banking. I do a lot of short-term lending type opportunities. So
Yeah.
I'll become essentially a lender out of that on a lot of multifamily deals, whether it's fix and flip or bridge stuff. And I do a lot of lending. And then what I'm ultimately doing is creating, like Andrew and I talk a lot about the Rockefeller effect, where
Mhm.
you begin to buy these policies for every person in your family, and they begin to stack and cascade. And so in my trust, it's not just my policy, it's the kids' policies, and I'm setting it up so that the grandkids will have the policies. And in the end, I hope to, and essentially I'm creating my own banking structure where I can lend out of that to my grandkids, and, it can pay for college, and it can pay for down payments on houses, and it can pay to what I'm really passionate about is helping them start their businesses, and
Yeah.
so, I've just recently created a model where I'm tying it to my nonprofit, and we're creating a lending fund out of the nonprofit to start businesses around the world that they have to repay, and they have to at least pay the interest on the money that they're using. And so I use it in a lot of different ways. It's just a great vehicle that provides you a lot of it allows you to make more money on your money. I mean, if you do it
Yeah.
right and you follow the right strategies, you can make, 3 or 4 or 5% more on your money just by using that vehicle, right?
Right.
And so when I'm struggling to get 10 or 12 or 13% rate of return now, when I use that vehicle, I'm getting by arbitrage 15, 16, 18%.
Right.
If I'm using it properly. And then, lastly, I like that it's never been penetrated before. It's like as much active business as I'm doing, I'm always one step away from a random lawsuit that I didn't know was coming. And, as hard as you work for asset protection, I love the fact that that vehicle just has never been penetrated. You don't see, I don't have a lot of risk there. That capital is that capital. It's tied to generations to come. And so I like it a lot. It's a great vehicle. And it's something that my family's been doing for a while. And so it's been very natural as I've transitioned and tried to get my sons to do the same thing.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting, man. I mean, I love that because it's not just what you can do to create wealth now, but it's also how do I pass on a legacy of wealth in the future too. It's
You got
kind of
it.
how you have your cake and eat it too, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we might have to do a whole separate episode of how you do that through a nonprofit and everything. That sounds pretty awesome for sure.
I definitely would be happy to share.
No. Well, again, Eddie, I really appreciate your time. You've been more than generous. And if people want to follow you, I know you got a big, Instagram and social media presence too. Do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to follow, impact others? Do you want them to follow Aspire?
All at all, but if one big thing that I've been doing for the past year is answering all my DMs. And so if you follow
Wow.
Eddie Official, I try to take time on a daily basis just to answer questions and connect with people. And so if you'd love to see more about Impact Others has a great following. If you want to come to the Aspire Tour, for any of the listeners that are on here on Money Ripples, DM me. I'll give you some free tickets. Happy to share with your entrepreneurial community. If it's in a city near you and you want some free tickets, let me know. I'll give it to your community for sure. But yeah, Eddie Wilson Official is the best place to connect.
Great. We'll be sure to put that in the show notes and tag you on sort of social media and everything else too. So,
Perfect.
again, very generous, even offering the tickets for Aspire. That's hugely generous too, as well. So, guys, there it is. And he says that because he knows most of you won't DM because, you have to actually be an action taker to get advantage of things. So he knows that the few of you that will do that, that will see awesome results in your life, will actually take advantage of it and DM him. So, again, very generous and appreciate your time, Eddie.
Chris.
So everybody, that's the thing. You can be a listener of these podcasts all day long, but until you're a doer of the word, your life will remain the same. So go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week. We'll see you later.